thought it was right. That's up here. We have new mics, folks, so we're just making sure that we have the microphones on. We are calling the March 1st, 2017 Calaveras Council of Governments meeting to order. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The consent agenda is the first item. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial and will be acted upon by the council at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or interested party may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for further discussion. We have a request to remove the minutes from the February 1st meeting for correction. Are there any other items being requested to be removed by staff or by council?
Council, Chair, I'd like to remove item 2 for discussion.
Item 2. Any others? Any public? Item number 2. Okay. Leaving items 3 and 4, do we have a motion to approve items 3 and 4 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Muniz. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Mills. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. First item is the approval of the Council of Governments regular meeting minutes for February 1st. Carly.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to make a note on agenda item number 8 in the minutes. I made a mistake on who voted on that. It's actually just the 4 elected officials, and I had the 4 elected officials and our citizen members, so I made that change, which is in front of you now, and that will be the one that goes on the website and the one that will be approved, that you approved tonight.
Any council comment? Any public comment? All those in favor of approving the minutes for February 1st, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved, 7-0. Item number 2, the review of the Executive Director's time card, travel reimbursement, and organization's credit card charges. Director Mills.
Yes, the purpose of pulling this item is not to question the actual reimbursements, et cetera, but it might be an opportunity for COG to look at realigning the travel and reimbursement policy to be in alignment with the county's policy. And there are specific things that we can discuss either as a board or offline, just to have some synergy with those, with our reimbursement policy at COG versus how it has worked in the county.
So what I'm hearing you ask is,
Sorry.
what I'm hearing you ask is for a future agenda item to review the travel policy and as a guide potentially to utilize the county's policy as an indication of what we should be looking at.
That's correct.
Okay, we'll make a note of that. Mr. Caldwell, you'd asked also to take a look at number 2.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gary Caldwell, Valley Springs. First of all, I want to say I appreciate the use of the microphones. It's a big improvement over the past meetings that I've attended, Mr. Chairman. With respect to agenda item 2, I'm surprised to read that the executive director is required to have a higher level of review on the aforementioned items. Who requires that?
It's required by the funding sources because I bill those hours to state and federal funding programs.
It's required by whom?
By the state, by Caltrans.
It's required by Caltrans.
It is. I bill these hours to state and federal programs, so I need a higher level authority other than staff to have reviewed my time cards and my charges for those billable hours.
Well, having been a management person, I think it's insulting to ask the executive director to submit her timesheet. And I understand that the council has to approve expenses. I don't see a problem with that. But bringing it to a public meeting, I think, is unnecessary. And I had a question with respect to that item on charges, not necessarily the executive directors, but the charges by UC Davis there was one charge for $500, and there was another charge for $1,035, both by UC Davis. And if I'm reading the invoices correctly, I'm not sure what the $500 is for, but it appears that the $1,035 was a charge by UC Davis to charge for the class, or actually 2 classes. I'm wondering if that's correct. First of all, what's the $500 for?
So you want to go ahead, Karen?
Yeah, I can speak on that. So we registered for 2 classes, and then you see the over $1,000 charge is both the classes combined. And I charged my credit card to pay for the class, and my credit card limit is only $500, so I just have to do it in increments. So that's why you see the charge only being $500, but the total for both classes came to over $1,000.
Say that last part again?
Both charges came to over $1,000.
Those $1,000 and $35 was for 2 classes, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Boy, and the $500 is for what again?
The $500 is a payment to the total amount. I can only charge $500
Oh,
to my credit card at a time. So that's why you see just a flat 500, because that's all I could afford for this charge.
so it wasn't a total of $1,535, it was still a $500 down payment on the $1,000,
Correct.
or deposit, or however you like to, goodness sakes. UC Davis charges that kind of money for another public entity. I realize you can't do anything about it, but. Great. That's probably why they can pay their art museum curator $175,000 a year.
Is there any further public comment on agenda consent item number 2?
Chair, I would move to approve.
Is there a
Sorry,
second?
Chair, I would move to approve.
I heard that. Thank you. Second by Councilmember Catalano?
I will, but yes. I didn't say anything, but yes, I will.
You did now.
Yep.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved 7-0.
Mr. Chair, I have a question regarding the last discussion on that. It's my understanding that you're using your personal credit card for COG business?
No, that is not correct. I use my COG given Cal card.
Okay.
And my specific card given to me, I only have a $500 limit.
Okay, that clears that up.
That's
And
better.
I was a little worried. Another
Generous.
procedural question. I noticed on the minutes, it's reported out that during the,
Councilmember Oliver, we already approved those minutes?
I understand.
Okay.
I understand. It's not affecting that. I have a question of Mark being absent. We are alternates on that, and that is referenced as a format on the minutes. Is that the way we do that?
Yeah, so what happens in the Acela system that we have is I have everyone that is on the council. So for example, tonight I have you ready to roll if you do come in, like you did take a place of another board of supervisor. So then you can vote on items on here. I can maybe find another wording except absent, maybe excused if you prefer. It just shows that if whoever does attend here that is part of the COG council, that they are able to vote once they arrive.
That would be a suggestion for future minute formats.
Okay, to have excused versus
When people
absent?
look at this, they look absent, or was he?
Okay,
That type of thing.
Okay.
I'm sure Mr. Rudolph appreciate that.
okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Our regular agenda item. Item number 5 is public comment. 5 minutes per person. Comments shall be limited to the items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council and not on the posted agenda. Do we have any public comment this evening? Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gary Caldwell from Valley Springs again. I wanted to repeat a comment I made 2 months ago, I think maybe 3 months ago now, about upcoming infrastructure funding. It appears that the federal government is allocating $1 trillion supposedly for infrastructure projects, and the governor is budgeting, we haven't seen it yet, but budgeting, he says, $400 and some odd million for road projects in the state. And I mentioned, as I said, 2 or 3 months ago to you that the emphasis is going to be, as far as awarding the project, if it's the same as the stimulus Act project, it's going to be shovel-ready. So again, I want to emphasize that it's not too early to think about projects and maybe even start preparing some of them for the potential funding you might receive. And take advantage of it, as opposed to last time where submittals were delayed, and of course, if you do submit on time and people don't, or agencies don't, then, and there's money left over, those who have projects ready typically will get additional funding over and above whatever their allocation was. It happened last time. I don't expect it to change as far as the policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6. Item number 6, a minute order requesting approval of the fiscal year 2017-18 draft operations budget. Ms. Collins.
Good evening, Council. This item is requesting approval of the fiscal year 17-18 draft operations budget in an amount of $556,610. This budget really represents the status quo. The council will also have an opportunity to review the final that was agreed in June. And I'll have to answer any questions the council may have.
Council questions?
I do a question. In looking at last year's budget, do you feel that there were any opportunities or challenges that were left unmet as unmet needs? I know it's out of the blue. But looking at the goals and the projects that were in place for that budget, do you feel that you were able to meet all of those goals? And so maintaining status quo doesn't really create additional challenges for you?
Yeah, well, this is our operations budget, so this is really reflecting status quo in terms of what you see here in salaries, wages, and then also kind of our indirect expenses. But the OWP really will,
Break it out further.
yeah, break it out further into different projects.
Now, is PERS involved? So you're figuring an additional 4% or somewhere close to that on PERS for next year? I know the state has already said that they're looking at about a 4% increase.
So we haven't received notification from PERS that will affect our rate next year. So that modification has not been reflected in this budget.
Okay.
Typically, we do receive notification of changes in the rates. So as of right now, I'm not anticipating that. It doesn't mean that we won't receive something soon.
Okay.
So the opportunity for the COG board, this is the draft that's required to go to Caltrans by March 1st. So we'll submit it to them first thing in the morning. The COG board has an opportunity to review the final budget in June when we host a public hearing at that point in time. At that time, we'll have a pretty good reflection of our actuals that we bring to you for consideration with that discussion. And then you have an opportunity again to reevaluate the priorities as they are reflected in the overall work program again in October. So we'll have 2 more opportunities should such changes like that come to make modification.
This is something that was discussed at CSAC a week ago.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we know that there's something coming down the pike, but if you haven't been formally noticed to it, you can't really do anything with your budget on it until it's noticed. I understand that. I just wanted to
Okay.
make staff aware that that's coming.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any further council comment on the operations budget? Any public comment? Would be motion to approve the draft, approval of the fiscal 2017-18 draft operations budget.
So moved.
Second? Second by Councilmember Muniz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. No problem. Agenda number 8, resolution number fiscal year 17-19, revising the allocation instructions to remove the shortfall of revenues compared to the allocations for fiscal year 24-15 and fiscal year 15-16 combined from the fiscal year 16-17 allocations. This is Lassie's.
Sure. I can take that item now, or would the chair consider entertaining item number 7, the draft overall work program?
Can I skip it?
It's up to you. I can take item 8 now if you'd prefer.
I apologize, I didn't intend to take that out of order. I can go back to item number 7 when we go ahead and wrap that up.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 7, approving the fiscal year 2017 draft overall work program and planning, programming, monitoring, and expenditure plan. Ms. Collins.
Thank you. This item is approval of the 17-18 draft overall work program and planning, programming, and monitoring expenditure plan. This draft was reviewed by the Technical Advisory Committee and will be submitted to Caltrans for review after council approval tonight. We're wrapping up quite a few plan projects this year. To highlight a few is the Angels Camp Main Street Plan, the San Andreas State Route 49 Gateway Corridor Study, and the Regional Transportation Plan. So we've been busy planning for the last couple of years. Our focus for this next draft overall work program is heavy on data development to assist and support city and county projects and make cases for future funding. We took out 7 work elements from this last overall work program that we anticipate completing by June and added 5 new work elements. We'll bring a final to you in June of the OWP and an amendment after the close of the fiscal year. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Council, questions on the draft overall work program?
No questions, just some comments that I put down. Packet page 67 deals with transportation funding analysis needs and opportunity. We can possibly if we're looking for extra funding sources, possible, if we're regulating and taxing cannabis after May, that could possibly be something we utilize for that. And then package page 70 has to do with the goods movement plan. If it's possible, we should look into alternative fueling stations for over-the-road trucks and delivery vehicles, whether personal or public. This will give us leverage to compete with zero emissions, encourages cleaner air and health quality, looks into the future of transportation. It's also possible to utilize 4 of the 6 goals in the California Freight Mobility Plan, which can lead into the Zero Emissions Vehicle Readiness Program. I have one more note somewhere here. Then on packet page 77, systematic safety analysis. I guess the only thing I had to say on that we have obviously a major flaw. There's a lack of reflectors on the roadways. Clear nights are not so bad, but rainy and foggy nights pose a real threat. So trying to utilize that aspect to work on our reflectivity program, possibly be good to coordinate with that. I think that's, got one more. Packet page 79, transportation planning grants, match funding. If we do pass, we do not ban cannabis in May, the passage of Measure C that we passed in November gives us a good opportunity to utilize some of those funds for matching plans. And it seems as though if we do match, it seems we get quite a bit of money from the government. Somewhere around, if we put in 11%, they're going to put in around 80-something%. So anytime we can match funds on any of these projects that we have, it's be a benefit. That's all my notes on that. Item 7.
Thank you, Board Member Catalano. Any other council comments? Any public comments on the draft overall work program? Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gary Caldwell, Valley Springs. I agree with the comment that was made about having some matching funds available, and I've always recommended to the council that they take the RSTP that's not allocated to somebody or programmed for somebody else, and put that in a reserve, and I think this year the proposal was 171,000 to go into the reserve, and you can use that for match in case there is a required match for any of the federal or state money that's going to come forth. The comment I have with respect to work element 6, in the first sentence it says that the work elements necessary to ensure projects using federal, state, local grant funds use those funds in a timely and cost-effective manner. I agree with that in spades. I think that the council should adopt some sort of a policy that you have with whoever the recipient is of the work elements and project funding, that you have an agreed-to timeline. And should that agency or whomever you allocate the money to fall behind by a certain amount of time, whatever that amount of time is, up to you people, then you take the money back from them. You don't reward people who are delinquent in delivering projects. Those of you who have been around the council for any length of time know that I'm big on project delivery. That's what you do. You spend the money. You're given scarce state and federal funds. You got to put them to use. To sit there and have an agency drag its feet and not come up with a project, I think is just absolutely unconscionable. So I think you ought to have some policy in there that you have, and I'm not saying that you dictate the time frame necessary. It'd be an agreed to time frame between you and the agency, that there are certain mileposts or milestones that the agency has to meet as far as time and delivery. And if they don't meet them, take the money back. You reward those who actually produce. You don't reward those who don't produce or who drag their feet and cause you possibly to lose the money or give it back, as has happened in the past, to the tune of over $1 million of CMAQ money a few years ago. Crazy. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the fiscal year 17-18 draft overall work program, planning, programming, and monitoring expenditure? Moved by Councilmember Merides,
Second.
second by Councilmember Calano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. Okay. Now on to agenda item number 8, revising the allocation instructions to remove the 45,435 shortfall of revenues compared to allocations for fiscal years 24-15 and fiscal years 15-16, combined from the fiscal year 16-17 allocations. Ms. Eads.
Thank you. First, I'd like the council and the public to note there's a correction on this item stapled in front of you. You'll notice the strike-through in red and the correct amount identified next to that. I'd like to thank Kelly Zanheiser for alerting me to that error, so thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to get it correct before the board. So just so the council's aware, unfortunately, our 15-16 state transit allocation has come up short. The COG board approves allocation instructions based upon those estimates. Unfortunately, the county budget's based upon those estimates, and we're in a funding environment that we've been talking about has been in continual decline under the last few years and is now seriously being felt by my agency and the Calaveras transit system. The prior year, the 14-15, I believe, had a surplus of $6,000 that had remained in the fund. So what we're recommending is that we revise the current year allocation instructions with the net deduction or reduction of those two fiscal years. The result is $45,435 less to the county transit fund. Should those funds be realized, the good news is the state transit assistance funds go solely to the operation of Calaveras Transit. We would then revise those allocations and make all of those funds available to the county should they be available. But based on the advice of our independent auditor, who's reviewed the information from the prior 2 years. The suggestion is a reduction of this year's allocation instructions. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this item.
Yeah, I have a concern is that I remember last year that we had to pull money out of contingencies to backfill this particular area.
We did.
And if this is the situation, are we going to be looking at that again? And whether or not we even have the money in contingencies to do it. So,
I had an opportunity to speak with the county auditor today, and we think with this shortfall, we should be able to cover the expenses with local transportation funds based upon estimates this year, and those estimates tracking accordingly. However, we will have a shortfall most definitely next year. And that without some intervention this year, there will be a substantial shortfall to the transit system next year.
can you kind of give us a projection on that somewhere before we get into that too deeply so that we have some idea where we're at?
Right now, it's projected to be about $193,000 to the LTF and State Transit Assistance Fund.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I understand that this problem has been addressed on the Calaveras Transit level, and they've made attempts to be more efficient in their operating costs. I understand there's a new system coming in April. I believe we have people here that can speak to that issue to help offset some of that deficit. So it's being addressed on several fronts.
Any further council comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the recommendation of the revised allocation instructions?
So moved.
Councilman Movies,
Second.
second by Councilmember Catalano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 7-0. Item number 9, the county report. Mr. Krovitz.
Thank you, Jeff Kravitz, Public Works, Calaveras County. Since our last meeting with the COG board, the majority of my time has been chasing flood damage. Between January and February, the county is now up to approximate estimate of about $6 million damage to our roads. And that includes 3 roads that are currently permanently closed until we can revise them, and 2 roads that were repaired under an emergency and that are back open again. So in spite of that, we are still continuing to pursue our capital improvement project and our capital improvement programs, as well as our highway bridge program. So questions outside of disaster, I'll be glad to address. I'm not sure this board wants to talk disaster. I spent a lot of time on it yesterday.
Yeah, we did, Mr. Clovis, we surely did. I do have some issues and maybe some discussion on some future projects. I understand, Executive Director Eads, we had some conversations regarding Murphy's project in the future near the school area with crosswalks and things of that sort. I don't know if you're aware of that, Mr. Krovitz, but is that still on the table? I know my people in District 3 are very anxious to hear that. If it's still on the schedule or if we're going to be able to talk about it.
I'll let Executive Director Eads address that if she'd like, but yes, I am aware of it. We work together for these partnership planning grants. Executive Director Eads and myself met with the elementary school, reviewed the grant applications, provided letters of support. I don't think we hear for a little while on the status of that.
Jeff is correct. We hope to hear around the 1st of April, and Carl can clarify that in terms of when Caltrans plans to announce the grant awards. We also will be meeting Public Works, Caltrans, myself, and you, Supervisor Oliveira, if you're available, to discuss the projects on the Highway 4 corridor, specifically the shop project that'll be occurring from the Michelson Elementary School to Tom Bell Road.
Do we have a scheduled date for that?
I believe we do, and I will verify that calendar date and make sure that that you're aware of that.
I believe I have it on my calendar. I want
Okay.
to make sure I'm there.
Okay, I'll make sure.
Thank you.
And then Supervisor Oliveira and others, for your information, there will be the first reading of an ordinance to eliminate parking on the approach to the Murphy's Bridge over Angels Creek on the 14th. This has been asked for a long time, and I only recently received support from the business property owner where this is going to occur. So,
I did see that entry on the agenda. I believe that's coming up pretty quick.
yeah,
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good job. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I want to publicly acknowledge the work that Public Works has done in our recent storm damage. And believe me, folks, it's been one crisis after another. And we're going to get involved on the COG level because this is going to be a project that's going to be ongoing for a long, long time. But I want to publicly acknowledge the work that's been done by our Public Works Division and our streets, and especially Mr. Krovis. He's been very, very diligent in getting this stuff done with the resources we have. And you're doing a good job, Jeff.
thank you, but the credit goes to the staff. Thank you.
I take it there was no further council comment. Transit report.
Good evening, Deborah Mullen, Public Works. Yes, I'm hoping that we are indeed working towards increased transit efficiencies with the new system ready to roll out. We're making a big effort in getting the word out because people know about it. They're, we have it's our only chance for getting bodies on the bus. We've been making a strong effort towards outreach and talking to people at mobile home parks, senior centers, home health workers. I ate chili at Railroad Flat Elementary School, talked transit, had a nice meeting this morning with the Ebbets Pass Property Owners Association. A lot of new people are learning about transit. A lot of people in Arnold are excited to hear that the hopper's coming to town, so that's starting this Saturday. And I would just like to enlist everybody's help talking about it when you meet with groups, community groups. Let me give you flyers. I have some here, but just happenstance. And or give me a call or shoot an email and let me come and talk to people. And, Cynthia Lawrence from Paratransit Services can do that too. So excited about that. The Saturday hopper for next year is looking like a lot of the other things at very much reduced funding. So we're looking at reducing, abbreviating the scope of that project, maybe probably going fewer Saturdays, keeping the number of runs in the day so that it works for people to go for the length of time they want, but we won't get the 46 Saturdays that we had this year. So if anybody wants to throw some money in that pot, we'll try and work with any maybe destinations that would like to see the hopper come. So that outreach has been intense work over the last month and will be ongoing. The applying for a 5310 grant for the last bus replacement that we need, and that will be going to the board for their authorization on March 14th, but the application was submitted to date. Any questions? Transit?
Council, any questions for Ms. Mullins?
I would only comment, Deborah, because I've sat in the audience, as you know, for many, many years. This is an ongoing process, and the more stable that we can make our decisions and not shuffle things around too much, in any business, it isn't a 90-day or even a 6-month process here. It can take years to develop stability. So we understand that and appreciate the effort that you put into trying to create that as we go forward.
It's been slow getting to this point, a couple years where we knew that changes were needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to actually.
Deborah, are the new
Thank you.
routes now in effect?
Pardon?
Are the new routes that you had highlighted to us now in effect?
No, okay, the new routes start April 3rd.
April 3rd.
So I have little packets and I'll pass these out to you. So it has all the routes. They're going to be renamed. So instead of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're going to be colored because they've totally changed and we don't want to compare apple routes to orange routes. So that's in the packet. There's slightly changed time points on the Delta Gold Line when that takes effect, and that will enable better connections to the other feeder routes. So people in Arnold will be able to get from Arnold in the morning to San Andreas, and then get on the Delta Gold Line to Stockton and come back the same day, where that wasn't possible before. We were just kind of missing that. And then the new Saturday Hopper, which starts off this Saturday, is on there too. So I'll give Amber a pile, and if you would pass them out. And
Does this interrupt at all the college students going to Columbia mid-session with the changes in the bus routes?
I think Columbia College reviewed the schedule of various different agencies within the college. There's a lot of different groups, and they're all excited. It has more frequent trips, so it's a matter of letting the students know, and they'll have more opportunities for travel. Right now, the bus drivers are making a point to tell all the regular passengers that changes are coming. We don't want to leave anybody stranded. So we're doing a little media blitz to the extent possible. Not everybody sees all those things. So just doing some legwork as well.
Thank you.
Amber, can I come back to that?
One more comment I'd like to make. Again, Jeff Krovitz, Public Works. Supervisor Clapp rode the bus in yesterday to work from Valley Springs. He was quite happy, came to see me immediately when he got off. So I would like to extend the challenge. I'm going to try to do it from Mountain Ranch when I can. The more we can ride the transit system, the more we're going to know about it. Thank you.
He's 10 minutes late.
Okay. And moving on to agenda item number 11, the city report. Mr. Hanham.
Dave Hannon, Planning Director for the City of Angels. Just report on a couple things. We had our kickoff meeting for our big trail and sidewalk projects. So we got our kickoff with the consultant, so we're off and running on that. As Amber talked about a little bit about our sustainability plan, where the consultants are hunkering down, getting technical memos out, and hopefully we'll get some admin drafts in a couple of months. Let's see what else. Other than that, I mean, that's all I really have in terms of updates to our project. So if there's any questions on anything, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Council, any questions for City of Angels?
Chair, I do have one question.
Sure.
Has the City of Angels suffered any major storm damage as a result of last storms?
Not. We've stayed pretty much. We've had a couple little things here and there, but nothing major, at least to my knowledge. But we're batching down the hatches again here next week. So, but yeah, so far we've been fairly lucky. I mean, we've had isolated incidences throughout the town, but nothing. I don't think anything real major. At least I'm aware of.
Thanks,
We
sir.
trust you got the car out of Angels Creek.
Well, that's
Yeah.
just that was more of a tourist thing. So
How much money did we get for that car?
Huh?
How much money did we get for that car?
Yeah, I don't know, but I tell you, it was funny because it drained for a long time, so there's a lot of water in that thing. So, but
Thank you.
anything else? All right, thanks.
Caltrans report. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carl Baker, Caltrans District 10. A few things, just to follow up kind of on the punch list items. We had a request at the last meeting to look into High School Road. I've requested Jeff to submit a letter to the district asking for a study. We went back and checked. We actually have never done a warrant study at High School Road. So that's simply a matter of making a request, and we'll do a warrant study on it. There was a question about Fourth Crossing Bridge and multiple patches. From what I could see going back, it was maybe San Domingo,
Correct.
and it appears that the concrete's holding pretty well.
It is
When
this
I've been
time.
through there, it seems to be doing the job. So I haven't bugged maintenance about it. From what I could see, it's working. We also had a question about the location of the speed limit signs in Burson. I have confirmed, and this was pretty much addressed. I think Jeff met with Supervisor Kearney to review the speed study. The signs are where the speed study shows they should be. Supervisor Tofinelli's point was that he understood that, but he thought that the accident history from the restaurant would warrant moving the sign regardless. That's a request that kind of asks for something that's not just in our regular flow of things to do. I would recommend that the county probably write a letter to the district director requesting that, so that we can look into whether that can be done again.
Carl, I actually drove that same section here just last week because I ate dinner at the El Torero. It's not even just that in front of El Torero, it's now back at a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, but also the comment was made that where the transition from 45 to 55 takes place is literally between the entrances and exits of a church that's down there.
Mhm.
So depending on which exit you leave of the church, you're looking at 45 or 50 mile an hour if people are even doing the speed limit. It seemed, I agree with Director Tofinelli, it seemed like a very strange place to make a speed change.
So I think that's a little bit harder of a letter to write than your standard one paragraph. Can you please look at this? And I can discuss with Jeff. We can think about strategies of how to put that to get the idea across. And certainly I can follow up. What will happen is the letter will go to the director, and then it'll go down the chain, and then I will have to go and talk to people to make clear exactly what's going on. But we can work around that. But it needs to be a request from the county to the district. The Murphy's project is, number one, I want to be clear, there's a couple things going on with Murphy's. One was that the COG and the county applied for a planning grant to look at the area in general. That has been submitted, and as far as I know, we're still looking at April. And if I get an update on that, I can follow up on that to see if there's any better information. But typically, we'll hear in the spring, and the idea is to get those awards, the award letters sent out, so that when you've done your draft OWP that you just approved, the final OWP is, we'll review the draft, provide our comments, and then the COG will submit a final OWP. Our intention with the grant awards is that you would have that award information so that you could put that in as a work element in your final OWP and be ready to go with it when you start the new fiscal year. So I haven't heard anything that would change that, but I also haven't heard, we still got some time to go. The other issue there is that we're developing a project initiation document for an improvement project on Highway 4 in Murphy's between Tom Bell Road and Pennsylvania Gulch. That project was originally scoped as a two-way center turn lane, simply to remove some of the conflicts. There was complaints about people passing on the shoulders when people were stopped to make turns. I think that's been an ongoing complaint with the elementary school, is that there's enough room on the side for people to pass on the right when people are stopped to turn left, and if there's people in the crosswalk, it's a difficult situation. That project is, we're developing the project initiation document to put that in our 2018 shop. So essentially that would go, the money would be approved in 2018. The project would probably be constructed somewhere 2021, 2020 or 2021. It's over budget at this point. It doesn't fit in the allocation that we currently have under the 2018 shop. The situation with that is just like when the COG puts together the FTIP and their proposal for the STIP. You do your best, you move forward with the PID, and when the state actually looks statewide to see what actually got ready to go to the request to the CTC for the money, we'll see what happens. So the decision at the district is to develop the PID, have it ready, and very often money works out. The other option is that there may need to be, we could have a situation where we would look to the county to apply for active transportation program funds. Our having the project initiation document ready would be a great help in preparing an application for that. So there's work to do there, but it's just like everything that we do with projects. You keep it going, try to be ready, because you don't know how the money's actually going to shake down. And as far as further outreach on that, there would be plenty of room to do further outreach. I don't think I kind of slid by saying the original scope was for the center turn lane. It requires widening of the road. Our intention at the district was try to get sidewalks in at the same time. And it's not just the sidewalks that pushed it over budget. It was the project itself was over budget.
Would the sidewalks be coming in our safe routes to schools?
Well,
Because you got it Michelson Elementary right there.
So if we were to build the sidewalks with money from the shop, then there wouldn't really be a discussion of safe routes to school per se. It would simply be us providing sidewalks, and of course they would, definitely be an asset towards providing a safe route to school. The scenario for looking at the planning grant was, well, what if Caltrans puts these sidewalks in? Let's look at our local roads. Where do our sidewalks on the local roads meet up with essentially the backbone on the highway? And the truth is, well, what sidewalks? Yeah. I think there's a sidewalk coming from the mobile home park. So that's really, we're trying to think big. We're trying to, solve the bigger problem and push forward on all fronts.
Carl, if I could just say, I'd like to thank Caltrans for considering this, because they had an operational issue, and the answer to that is to move in with the SHOP program and fix that operational issue. They entertained the community's concern about multimodal access along that corridor, and they're undergoing sort of an asset management process now that sort of forces Caltrans to stop thinking in those silos, and so that they can look at the entire asset from beginning to end and look at the improvements that are necessary, and when they're in making those improvements, to maximize the investment and do it, complete the whole project. Otherwise, the alternative is they come in with an operations improvement, we've got a project study report or a PID, and then we compete for funds separately, and we come back in maybe 3-5 years from now and finally finish the sidewalks. So I think that Caltrans is taking more of an innovative approach in terms of looking at their assets and how they deliver complete projects, I think that they're definitely adopting the state's overall mission for complete streets and main streets as highways. And so I think that what we can see is Caltrans is being really challenged to incorporate those with the limited funding they have within the existing programs that they've got. So I hope long-term that there's a solution that's statewide that helps address these issues. But I think in the meantime, Carl and the district's continuing to champion for these improvements on this corridor, which I think is very beneficial to our community. So I just want to thank them. They're doing all that they can with the existing rules.
To be clear on that, our first year for rolling out the asset management approach is 2020 for the 2020 shop. So this is under the 2018 shop, and that's a little bit of the reason that, you know, we're over budget and we don't really have a way to fix it right now. As that funding scenario resolves itself moving forward, that's where we hope for the opportunity. Under the asset management approach, it's clear our direction is to take that approach of combining opportunities, cutting costs by doing things all at once. We have the exact same funding issues that the COG faces and the county faces. That yes, the expectation is that we're going to try to include complete streets in these projects, but nobody has said, here's the complete streets money. So that's a work in progress, and it's something that we just move forward and do our best with. The other items I wanted to mention, the Federal Lands Access Program is a federal program. The COG is working on an application with the county for the Wagon Trail project. It's any project that provides improved access to federal lands can be considered under that program. The deadline for that is April 7th. So the district is working with the county to get that going for the Wagon Trail. We're also working with the COG and the county and the Forest Service on what's called the Collaborative Long-Range Transportation Plan. I think I mentioned that last month also. It's a long-term plan for money like the FLAP. Essentially, it's federal money that's related to federal lands. It's simply an opportunity for the agencies to partner to make sure that we're thinking big picture. We're not just thinking within our own agencies, that we're looking together to see what shared needs there might be. Does the Forest Service have needs that the county's not aware of? And are there opportunities to better utilize the funding to address all the agency's issues? So that's ongoing. We met a couple weeks ago, and we've got contact with the Forest Service, and I think we're going to be doing some follow-up. We want to make sure that we try to capture all those needs and get them to federal highways to get them in their plan. The statewide bike and pedestrian plan has been released, and I believe the review date is March 7th. I need to confirm that. I realize I have the plan with me. I didn't bring the date. That plan is a policy plan. You could probably even go more like it's a visionary plan. It's not about projects. It's not about carving out things. It's really more of a vision. Certainly, all public comments and agency comments are welcome. To find that, probably the best way is online. Just Google California Statewide Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. Did I bring it with me? Excuse me. Toward an Active California. That's the name for it. So it'll come up. They have a website that has an interactive. You can submit the comments online. The last thing I had was driving out, I decided to go by Burson because I know we've got a contractor who's on contract to put those beacons in, and I still didn't see him. So I'll do some more follow-up on that. It's been contracted since September, I believe. So I'm not sure what the hang-up is with that, but I'll follow up with the branch that's in charge of that and try to find out what's going on and get that back to the council. And that's it, unless there's questions.
Council.
I have a question. Do you have an ETA on when the Route 26 road will be repaired going into Amador?
The last I heard was April, so
Any beginning of April, end of April?
I'd have to follow
Somewhere
up
in
on
there?
you for it, yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Okay, thank you.
Carl. Item number 13, council reports. Councilor immunities.
I'm good.
Director Mills.
Good.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Olivera.
Nothing to report, Chair.
Waldorf.
Nothing to report. Nothing to report.
Okay. At the end of this month, it is the California Council of Governments Conference. I'm looking forward to attending that and coming back in April and reporting out back to the council what's going on in the state from the council meetings. Staff reports. Ms. Carly.
I have nothing to report.
Sarah.
Nothing to report.
Ms. Collins.
No, I have nothing else to add. I included a staff report of all the transportation projects, or planning projects that we're doing right now, and status of that, so unless the council has any questions on that, everything else is back.
I just wanted to update the council. I had an opportunity to meet with Amador and Tuolumne regarding the regional forum. So we are in the early planning phases of that. They do believe they will host it in either Amador or Tuolumne, and they're planning for sometime early fall. So I just wanted to update the council on that. And also let you know that we are in the middle of preparing our Wagon Trail federal lands application, as Carl had mentioned. And I'm really excited about our opportunities this time around and the funding strategy that we've developed around that, and hope that we have a very competitive project. So I look forward to hearing how we score on that. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me. Okay.
Item number 15, adjournment. The next scheduled meeting of the COG is April 5th at 5:30 here. Thank you.